Okay.
Oh, there we
Okay.
go. There we
we
go.
are.
We're discussing some of the what we call them critical issues because they apply to current grantees as much as they apply to people who are thinking of applying for an EPA grant, and we'll continue to keep this program going. So today we're going to be talking about partnership development, but before we get started, we have an opportunity to introduce everyone, and there'll be some more people coming on the call, but why don't we go around and introduce ourselves. And the reason we're doing this is some of us may be seeing everyone at the all grantee meeting on the 24th. And we'll get familiar. And if you're not going to be able to get to the all grantee meeting, we want to attach the faces to the organizations so that when we do have Zooms or get together, this grant is so much different than many other grants in that it has to do a lot with collaborations. We're not competing against each other. We're really trying to get ideas from each other and trying to find out what works, what doesn't work, and what we can incorporate in our program, whether we've been doing it for 20 years or 10 years or a year. So we're trying to learn from each other and look at the pitfalls and get some ideas that we might be able to bring home. So that's why we like to always introduce ourselves. So Steve, why don't you start off and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Steve Fenton, and I work with Mike here with HMTRI. And I will mention that our colleague Nolan, he's somewhere in the Mediterranean. We tried to insist he take a satellite phone with so we could like bug him. And for some reason, he didn't think that was a good idea. So he'll be gone till I think the 8th. So, but welcome everyone. Good to see you.
I'm Mike Senya, the facilitator. Now we could talk about Nolan. You know, Nolan is an interesting person. He's been around for a long time and pretty much in and out of this program. He worked for the Department of Energy, but he's had such a varied career. He actually did some work with some rock bands. He's worked for Department of Energy, but he's got a really good depth of knowledge. And we were fortunate that he decided to come back. He was in some of our earliest professional learning community calls and some of our earliest Zoom, they weren't Zoom calls, they were face-to-face calls. And he decided to come back and help us out. So, but he'll be back with us probably in the next session. Todd from Auberly.
Hi.
And thanks, Abby, for bringing Todd along.
Yeah,
Todd,
we told
Auberly.
I was going to say we told Todd that Abby and Jake were fantastic. They were great to work with. So we already told him how great you guys were.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Todd is a good addition. I stole him. He's an A+ leader in the community here in McKeesport. So I stole him, and he's going to be part of our team.
Is a perfect partner. When we're talking about partnerships, one of the most important thing is people that can actually get out of the office and work with the community. Fantastic.
Absolutely. I work with the community. I mean, it's something that I was called to do, and I'm so happy for Abby. She is a great leader.
Good. Thanks, Todd. David from Texas.
Yes, good evening all. I'm David Cantu with the City of San Elizario. I am also with the Rio Grande Council of Governments board member, and we've been looking at different opportunities for these types of grants for our region. So I'm here to learn as much as I can.
Good. Amy from Alaska.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Amy Penny, and I am with the Alaska Forum. We have been a longtime grant holder, and we do environmental worker training and an apprenticeship program for the state of Alaska, really focusing on rural Alaska, underserved communities and underemployed communities.
That's like Deborah from Tacoma, Washington.
There we go.
Sure.
Deborah Trevorrow, City of Tacoma. Glad to be here. We've had a few of these grants and stepped away for a bit, and now we're back. We applied for the 2023 version and waiting for approval on the work plan.
Fantastic.
Thank
Well,
you.
they were one of our stars for quite a while, and it's good to see them back. So, on that work plan, how's that coming along? How you evidently signed the package they sent you, and then now it's in their lap, right?
Right. They sent a letter of award to the city manager and the mayor and such. And then part of the second round of requirements was, do X, Y, Z and the work plan. So the X, Y, Z, and you've talked about it before, the forms that you have to submit, like, okay, really have your ducks in a row and plan ahead. But the work plan, it's a lot like the application. It's, the narrative. So in that part, it was fairly easy, I'd say. But just waiting to hear back kind of on pins and needles, even though I know it should be okay.
Well, those of you who are first-year grantees or applying, actually, Deborah has gone through it, and it's you tend to cheer and clap your hands. Hey, we got the award, but then all of a sudden the hard work starts. We got to go through the negotiations. You got to decide if you really want this grant, and then your work plan. And as we said, you've almost got to have the program all done before you even start. So it sounds like you're well on your way.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Thank you.
Yeah, there we go. Diana.
Workforce Development Board here in Chile today.
Okay. Karen Groves, Govern.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Karen Govan. I'm the Director of Workforce Development here at Southwest Economic Solutions in Detroit, Michigan.
Great. And Abby?
Hi, everyone. I'm Abby. I'm from the Employment Institute at Auberly. We are located just outside of Pittsburgh in McKeesport, 4-time EPA grantee.
Ed?
Sorry, my internet's a little jumpy here today, so everybody's freezing up, and I wasn't sure if you called me or not. I'm Ed Kelly with Nye Communities Coalition. We cover rural areas. It's Nye County and Esmeralda County and Lincoln County in rural Nevada. And I'm actually in Tonopah, Nevada today, which is about 170 miles north of my normal office. And so, like I said, the internet's a little slow, but I am promoting the Brownfields program up here as well, and some other workforce stuff with job developing. So
it's a tough grant, and we're going to actually be addressing rural versus urban brownfield job training programs. It's a tough road to hoe, but Amy's doing it, Janet's doing it, Puerto Rico's doing it, and you're giving it a go. So congratulations. Kim?
Hello, I am Kim Kelly. I work with the Sustainable Workplace Alliance. We're located in Central Florida area, and we're a new awardee.
Great. Paul?
Hello, Paul with Recycle Force out of Indianapolis, Indiana. We're a reentry program with transitional jobs, industry recognized certifications, and wraparound services site, and hopefully we'll be in by November now. So just real excited.
Fantastic. Anything with a plug and an ex-offender program. Great. Ed, let's see, we got Ed and Abby and Deborah. Let's see, Deborah.
You did, Deborah. Yeah.
Oh, he did, Deborah. Okay, how about Jacob?
Hello. How's it going, Mike?
Good.
Jake Markowski, Region 3 from the Auberly Foundation.
Good. And David Jones? with us, David? Okay, we'll come back. Andrea Robbins.
Good afternoon. I am Andrea Robbins with Full Employment Council in Kansas City, Missouri. And we're on our third grant. We've submitted our work plan for the one that was recently that we received the notification of award on, and we're just waiting for it to be returned.
So you're in the same situation, waiting for the grants office to give you the go-ahead to write the checks. That's the key. Hi, Ken. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, good afternoon. It's Ken Alexander, Indianapolis, Indiana Recycle Force, Director of Training and Operations. And I see Paul. I don't know if Paul here, I'm just getting on. So I don't know if Paul introduced himself as well. So anyway, we're doing good. We're preparing to move in our new location. So we got some exciting things just happening. And we got a consortium coming up on May, and we're gearing up to be in Alexandria, Virginia.
That's right. In fact, Ken and Paul are bringing one of their students along to talk about their experience working with the program and their experience with Recycle Force. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you for bringing him along.
Yeah, thank you.
Kim Kelly.
I introduced myself.
I already did.
Sustainable Workplace.
You guys are jumping around on me. Let's see. How about Shantae?
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Shantae Vinson, located out of Wilmington, Delaware for the West End Neighborhood House, employment specialist and environmental training coordinator. We've had our grant since 2015.
Great. John Galatos.
His microphone isn't working, Mike,
Okay.
but just for everyone, he's from Region 6 with Southern University Shreveport and the Brownfields program.
Great. And David Jones.
Good afternoon. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm having some issues over here. David Jones, CDC of Tampa. This will be our third grant, and we're just excited to be a part of the overall community, providing environmental training to our local community in Tampa Bay area.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
And a gentleman called in. I don't know if we can hear you or not, but if you can say anything, we're welcome to introduce yourself. Okay. And how about Yvette?
Hello, everyone. My name is Yvette Caria Solis. I am from El Centro in Kansas City, Kansas. We have classes here, EPA classes. We used to have a program that was up to 3 to 4 weeks. We kind of now changed that due to the needs of our community. We now have it either a week or just a couple of days, depending on what certification they are needing. And our goal in the end is pretty much for them to be established in a good work with good benefits. And we're still continuing this program for the remainder of this year.
Great. And we're not going to be far away from June, and it's always time to put in an application. We always tell people, when in doubt, apply, because then you get a chance, no matter what the outcome is, to speak to your regional coordinator and get some hints and get on the list and participate in things. As with Tacoma or other grantees we've had, sometimes you take a break for a couple of years and some come on back. So we always encourage people to apply. The interesting thing about these introductions that it shows is we've got a real diversity not only a geographical diversity, but also diversity between those who this is their first year grant, those who have not even applied yet, and those who have been in for 9 or 10 cycles. And EPA is pretty agnostic about what kind of program you want to have. You can have a rural, you could have an urban, you could be around for a long time, or you may be a one-shot grantee and learn and then come back. So I think it's a fantastic program that way. Iris, I saw you pop up. I don't think we got to introduce you. Would you like to say hello to everyone? Oops, your sound is off. I don't know, maybe, can you undo your sound?
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Hi, everyone. Iris Colon from Paston, Puerto Rico.
Yay. We're going to have people from Puerto Rico also on our agenda to talk about rural and urban programs, and they're both actually. They're rural and urban, so it'll be interesting to hear from you. Well, thanks everybody. It's always good. Did I miss anyone? Anyone want to say anything before we get started? Okay. Well, we always start off with what's going on, and some of these things have been repetitive, but we got a lot of new people, and Steve is going to brief us on what's happening with regard to the upcoming all grantee meeting. Steve?
Sure. Okay. Just to give you an update on the all grantee meeting that will be held in Alexandria, Virginia. We have a lot of registrations. We're closing in on 100 if you count the EPA folks and all of the participants. I think we're somewhere around 90. So we've got, a lot of people coming. You can still register and still come. The one problem we're having or going to have, and it's starting to rear itself today, and that is like hotel room availability. We had a block of like 80 rooms, and as of this morning, I think there were 4 or 5 left. So they may be gone now. I don't know. But if anybody else is still, if you're considering coming, you might at least check that hotel availability out. You can still come to the conference. We just can't cover the hotel expense if you're in another hotel. So just an FYI on that. The agenda is coming along. We're going to be talking about grant management, grantee partnerships. We've got challenges and minefields for grantees. We're going to cover the EPA tool, acres, rural versus urban grantee issues, tips and strategies for recruiting, screening, assessing populations, and then working with diverse populations. So it's a really good agenda and we really appreciate everybody who's agreed to participate. And although some of you have volunteered to be a facilitator and you haven't heard from us yet, stay tuned because we will be asking you if you could help us facilitate a session once we determine the exact number. A lot of this is being driven by how many breakout rooms we have, and that's driven by the total registration. Right now, it looks like we're going to maybe have 4 breakout rooms. And with 4 different sessions, we don't want to have to call on you more than once, but we do have a lot of volunteers. So we will be getting back to you probably within the next week to 10 days. So that's coming along really, really well. Again, you can still register, and the hotel room is what the variable is. We're not sure about that. I had somebody tell me they registered last night and they said the room block was full. And then I had somebody register this morning. And then I talked to the hotel today and they said they still had a couple left. So
no, Steve, and you're going to talk about it next, but there was a message in the chat. Are we talking about May or are we talking about August? And you can address the difference between those 2 meetings.
Yes, that is, let's see.
August, the May meeting.
John. Yeah, John, we'll see you in Alexandria. That's the meeting we're talking about, in Alexandria, Virginia.
Right.
And yes, John, we may be calling on you to be a facilitator too. So we'll get back to you on that. So that's the one in Alexandria, Virginia, the all grantee meeting. The next one I want to talk about, just give a quick update, and that's the Brownfields National Conference, August 8th through 11th in Detroit, Michigan. Now, good news is, and I've been tracking this like every week, when they were going to open the registration, where the host hotel and all this stuff was, and I could never get an answer. And finally, I've reached out to our good friends in Detroit, Karen and Mac, and also the Brownfield contact list, and they told me last week that this week the information would be coming out, and it is now. You can, if you're intending to go to Brownfields 2023 in Detroit, you can register now. And the host hotel, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but it's a few blocks away from the convention center. This will be at the Huntington Place downtown. There are a whole number of hotels around the Huntington Place. So you can, if you take a look at housing on the Brownfield 2023 website, they'll give you a list of all the ones they recommend. So that's one of those things where if you're going to go and you want to select a hotel that you want to be in, better to do that sooner rather than later. We learned that last year again when Mike and I registered real early. Then our friend Nolan didn't register until late, and he was about a half a mile away in other hotels.
Now,
So again,
the Brownfields National Grant block is different than our grant block. Unfortunately, we can't pay for room or lodging or anything really. So unfortunately, you would have to pick up all expenses on that meeting. What we will do, well, Steve will talk about our booth at that meeting.
right. Yeah, the hotel cost, all the cost of getting there and staying there really is up to each individual. But we will have a booth, as Mike said, and actually it's number 113. It's in a pretty good location, and we'll be there. If you have materials you would like us to market for you, let us know, and if you can get them to us, we'll take them with. Or if you're going to be at the conference, come by and see us. And like if you're walking around, maybe you have a backpack or something, you don't want to carry it, you can leave it at our booth because we'll have it staffed the whole time. So, but anyway, that's coming up. The information about it's there, Brownfield 2023 in Detroit, and we look forward to seeing you there. And I know we'll see our Detroit group, Karen and Mac. So looking forward to visiting the city. A couple questions that have come up. Let me just kind of go through these. One is, how do community-based organizations contribute to the Brownfield Job Training Program? And well, basically they can contribute in a variety of supporting roles, including accepting Brownfield job training in the community, for starters, promoting environmental training as part of the recruitment process, providing educational services such as GED and life skills training, assisting with in-kind contributions of staff time, supplies, transportation, and daycare, and also providing facilities and equipment for training in the target community. And then also representatives from community-based organizations should be considered as valued members on like your advisory board as well. Another question, should potential employers be considered as partners or customers? Good question. Potential employers should be treated as customers, but also as contributing partners. So really both. Employer partners can provide contributions to the Brownfield Job Training Program in addition to employing graduates. They can help with the selection and development of the training curriculum. They can provide on-the-job training or internships for trainees, provide financial resources covering costs of special events, including lunch or refreshments, maybe graduation ceremonies or something, provide facilities and equipment for training, and then volunteer mentoring and career guidance to program participants. And again, potential employers should also be considered as valuable members of the advisory board. And then another question on that I missed the last PLC. Could you give me the links to last year's request for application of 2023? And the answer is yes, and we're going to include them in the notes. And once I get done, I will also put them in the chat if you want to peel those off now. But as we noted last time, using available FY23 guidance materials would be a good strategy to prepare for the FY24 application guidelines. It's not anticipated that the evaluation criteria will change dramatically. And so those links could be helpful to you, and we'll make sure that you get copies of those. Also, sessions addressing the FY23 Brownfield Job Training request for applications of upcoming PLCs. The schedule will also be in the notes, but after today, we'll have a session on May 10th on student recruitment and assessment. Then we'll take a break on the 24th for the all grantee meeting. And then on June 7th, we'll cover curriculum development and student retention. On June 21st, there'll be placement and tracking. And then on July 5th, PIPs and trips to consider before the application submission. So this list will be included in the notes as well. That way it'll help you if you're having you want to take a look at any one of those in particular. So any questions? Hi, Janet. We had a few more people join us. Janet, do you want to just introduce yourself real quick? You're on, you're muted.
Hi, I'm Janet Curley from Santa Fe Community College, and we are doing our graduation of our third cohort tomorrow, or no, on Friday. So I've been getting everything ready for graduation.
Awesome, awesome. Welcome. And Rita, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fantastic.
I'm at the Tribal Environmental Summit.
Awesome. Awesome. And I don't know if anybody else came in. Jessica Guzman, Santiago.
Hi, this is Jessica from Puerto Rico from Pastor Corporation.
Okay. Well, good afternoon. Mike, I guess no questions. It's
Thanks,
back to you.
Steve. That was a great segue into what we're going to talk about today. Partnerships really are really important in this program. EPA, because we live in a smokestack world as far as funding goes, money comes down through Congress into EPA and is allocated for environmental training, and even more restricted to the extent of brownfields locations or Superfund locations. But it is not a Department of Labor program. It is not like some of the other grants you might see. As you all know, this is really an atypical type of grant. So the question is how do you do a comprehensive training program when all you could do and all you get money for is for training environmental remediation? And at first, when I first heard about this, I thought this just doesn't work. But actually, the people at EPA were pretty smart about this, and their response was, "Yes, we have these restrictions, but when you think about it, all of the other things you need in a training program are provided by other grants through these other agencies. They're local. There are millions of dollars allocated to programs that provide these services that you may need. And your job really is to partner and find these partners. Not only that, is their grants are evaluated on how they're outreaching to other grantees and to the community. So in effect, when you bring a partner in, you're both a favor, really. You're helping them fulfill their mission of working in the community, particularly in underserved communities, and you're getting leveraged partnership that really would be duplicative of other federal programs that are out there. So the design of this program, but whether by accident or intent, was EPA will provide training for environmental remediation, health and safety, but it's up to the grantee to go out and develop these partnerships. And of course, as time goes on, partnerships have become a very important part of the program. In fact, when you get to the evaluation criteria for those who will be applying, it's one of the largest point totals that they give to an evaluation criteria is the partnership. And what are those partnerships? And what is the purpose of them? And we're going to talk about that today. And that goes for existing grantees as well as aspiring or new grantees. And the question is, what kind of partners do I need? You say I need partnerships and things that we don't provide. And when you're developing a program or you have a program, and this is a good time to relook at your program, what are the gaps in our program? What are we not doing that we could be doing that would make our graduates better people? And that might include some soft skills that we're not providing right now. There may be some courses that for financial literacy, for example, you may feel you have a good training program and you're actually graduating people who are able to get jobs, but perhaps you could do a little better job. Perhaps you can provide some financial literacy training. Perhaps you need to do more in the area of other soft skills, interviewing, other life skills, job preparedness that you may be doing now, but maybe not. Are you really looking after your students in the area of case management? And we've talked about this in other PLCs. Some people have the case manager that's provided them through the Department of Labor or through the penal system. Others have 2 or 3 case managers that work with their students in different arenas. So it's worth everybody, not just new grantees developing a program, but it's worth everybody having a meeting and say, okay, are there things we could be doing better in our program to better serve our graduates? So when they get out, they're not only going to be able to do environmental remediation, but they're going to have a lot of these other skills that we don't think about that will help them get a better job, or after this job gets them promoted. And what can we do? And of course, that might include job placement prep, for example. There might be something in that area that you could help them with, not on the next job, but the job after that or the job after that. So this first part of this whole exercise of partnership development is find out where your weaknesses are. Some of those weaknesses may be even internal. They may be, in fact, you may be a small nonprofit and you need help in administration. And you may come down to the fact that you need some partnership assistance in terms of program management. It might be in terms of reporting, project reporting, or sustainability, or it might be things like community outreach. And this is the great example where you may find that you need more help in working with the community, which is such an important part of this. Could be that you feel you're doing okay, then you're getting applicants, but you're really not reaching the community. And you may decide that you should probably look for someone who can do some community outreach. And that partner, it doesn't necessarily have to be a new hire. It could be one of the types of person we're going to talk about next. It could be someone from another organization that's willing to help you as part of their job to do community outreach. They may already be doing community outreach, and they could work with you and sit in on your meetings and say, I can help promote your program while I'm doing my other work. So this whole idea of finding your gaps is really important, because that's where you first start out. Then the next question is, what happens? Okay, I've gone through and I've established my gaps, and I think I need these people in these areas. And how do I find them? And that question is you want to look for people who are close to your program. For example, if you're going to be working with community outreach and you found that you need to do more outreach into the community, whether it's recruitment for future cohorts or for the first cohort, you may identify that as a gap, and you identify that you need a partner in that area. You don't want to go all the way across town or all the way across the state, or someone who's not familiar with your target community and recruit them to help you. You want someone in your community. So this is how partnership development and community assessment and even labor market assessment all kind of fit together, because you want to bring all of these partners as close to your home base as you can be, whatever that's going to be. That'll be the community that you're primarily serving, where most of your students are coming from, where you're going to be doing most of your training, where students are going to have to go to get training, and clearly, and where they live. Clearly, if you could identify nonprofits that are working in your area close to where you're at, that's ideal, because they're right there and they're familiar with the community. So we've identified the gaps. Now we have to start looking for people who are doing similar things to what you're looking for in your community. And that might be a Goodwill, it might be a Salvation Army, it might be a church, it might be it might even be a for-profit organization. So that would be the next step in starting to expand your partnerships as much as you can. And of course, if you can't find someone close, you find someone who can do what you're doing. And of course, many of you that are on the call have many partners. Some of you may have not so many, and there's nothing wrong with that. You may have all of these activities in-house. You may have the outreach already in-house. You may have the case management in-house. You may have the drug testing in-house. You may be self-contained, and that's fine if you do, but many of our organizations aren't that big, and they do have those gaps, so they have to outreach. But either way, you want to make sure they're covered. So I'd like to spend a little time, now that we've talked about identifying the gaps and the need for partnerships, what kind of partners are there? And when we talk to the attorneys at EPA, they're gonna focus mostly on the ones that involve money exchange of federal funds. The other ones are important to include in the grant and write into the grant, but the ones that are really touchy as far as EPA goes are the ones where there's federal money exchanging hands. And that happens really in two cases primarily. The first case is a subgrantee, and some of you are subgrantees and some not. And what is a subgrantee? And a subgrantee does not, they will, as we'll talk about later, they do not have to go out for bid. You are essentially forming a partnership and you're going in on the grant together. The subgrantee is responsible for all the terms and conditions as a primary grantee. And a good example of this is a community, like in Tacoma, where you may have a county or a state even that applies for the grant because they have the fiscal agents, they have the accounting, they have all the infrastructure you need to get the grant, the reporting, the follow-up, but maybe not the technical expertise, and they want to farm out to, say, a community college. They want to farm out the actual production of the program to them. So they might form a partnership, a subgrantee. And of course, as I said, that is not subject to any kind of request for quotations or anything. It's just you find someone you want to partner with and you decide you can work together. And this works really well when you've got someone who's done a lot of federal grants and has the infrastructure for the grant writing, and they partner with someone who may not be as familiar with it. They may be a small community organization, or they may be a smaller community college, or a nonprofit that they can work with. Now they do have to be either a nonprofit or a governmental organization, tribe, but we have these partnerships all the time, and they seem to work well. No competitive bid, just keeping in mind that subgrantee, whoever decides to be the head honcho versus the subgrantee, that subgrantee is going to be treated just like the boss, the one that applies for the grant. That subgrantee is going to be responsible for all the terms and conditions of the grant, may be subject to an audit. So the grantee, the official grantee, has to be very careful, and you have to have meetings and be very concerned. Are they keeping their records? Are they, if they're doing any bidding for anything that involves federal money, they're getting the 3 bids, which we'll talk about in a second. You have to make sure that they are crossing the T's, dotting the I's, so that when and if EPA comes in and says, we'd like to audit your program, we'll audit the grantee first, but we're going to go to the subgrantee, and we're going to go visit them to make sure their paperwork is all in line. So that's the key thing, but they do really work well. The other thing to keep in mind with subgrantees, of course, if for some reason that partnership breaks up, it's a whole new ballgame. And EPA, you know, they're in the work plan, they're in the grant, and if anything like that is going to happen where that relationship no longer works, you really have to work with your regional coordinator and work with EPA, because this is major in terms of the entire grant. And if for some reason, some catastrophic reason, your subgrantee bails, you may have to find a substitute and work with EPA to say, well, this community college has got a new chancellor and they're no longer doing this, but we've got another community college that can work as a subgrantee, and it may have to likely go through the grants process. Rita could probably speak to that, I think. Rita, have you ever had that problem where you've lost a subgrantee? Oh, you can turn.
Of course, we've had the problem, any problem you can think, we've had it. At one point, SUSLA, Southern University, Shreveport, Louisiana, everybody in the administration had retired. Now we're building it up, and it's all new people. You just say, okay, they're gone. Let's start with these new people. You just can't stop because the people that you know have left.
Good point. And it's not the end of the world. And
exactly.
And I see Janet shaking her head. She's been through this too, where you've got change of administrations. You've got sometimes in a positive way. And Janet, you want to speak to that, or do you just want to?
Yeah, Rita and I've gone through a few learning experiences together over the past 10 years.
Okay. It happens, but it's not the end of the world, okay?
No.
But the word of caution is, whoever is that subgrantee, keep very careful records. That's the key. And hopefully you won't be audited, but if you are, you're not going to get an ulcer over it, because you'll have all your ducks lined up in a row. The other thing that EPA and Rita and everyone, many of you have run into with your contractors. These are, I call them fiscal partners. Now this is a case where money is exchanging hands, and it may be federal money. When it is, okay, Grants Office and EPA is now interested. And this happens primarily around trainers and consultants. You're hiring a trainer, or you're hiring a consultant, and it may be over $10,000. You're going to have to go out for 3 bids, and you're going to have to conform to the federal contracting rules. And you definitely want to do this. Now, there's some interesting nuances to this and that are easily passed over. particularly to new grantees who are writing a grant, and you've got a trainer who, and in writing the grant, you've got to cost out your cost of your courses you're going to be teaching. And someone says, oh, I'll give you all of that, and I'll tell you the courses, and I'll take over all the training costs, and don't worry about it. Well, because they help you write the grant doesn't mean that they're a sole source. There is no such thing as sole source as far as EPA goes. Very, very rare that you would have a sole source contract with a fiscal, I call this fiscal partner. You need to go out on 3 bids. Now, one interesting thing, this is an area where existing grantees have a heads up. Once you qualify a contractor, you've gone out for 3 bids. They're in your program, they've been vetted, and now they're part of your organization. So that's not really a problem. You can go out and get a quote. For new grantees, it's a little more of a challenge because you've got to come up with some costs of your hazmat training, cost of confined space. You might need costs of some equipment or whatever. You're really going to have to go out for bids, and you're going to have to be careful. There's 2 ways to do this. You go out for bids, and the important thing is you say there's no guarantee that you're going to get the work, because we can't write you in the grant as long as you're not already vetted and employed by us. But we will go out for bids again when we get the money. That's one way. There is another way that's been used. You can actually bring someone on board, do your 3 bids and pick someone, but you're going to have to be very careful the fact that their employment would be contingent on you getting funding, and their scheduling would work with your scheduling. In other words, say I'm writing a grant and I have a new course. I could go out for the 3 bids, and I'd like to include them in the grant writing process. I could go out on 3 bids, and I could vet them and pick the one that I want and have all the justification for audit purposes. I could choose that person and say, in the bidding process, when you go out for the RFQ, indicate that this is when the proposed course would be. It's contingent on us getting the grant money or getting the funding for this, and of course could be canceled by either party. You could then select that person, bring them on board, and then if you put them in a grant, indicating that you have done the vetting process. In other words, they have been cleared, they've gone through the 3 bid process, and they're going to teach the course. So that would be another way to get around that. But you definitely want to do this. And remember, you just can't bring a contractor on and then now they become part of the grant. That just doesn't work. Doesn't pass muster. And of course, fiscal partners do have to comply with all of the federal contracting rules. That are many, and we'll talk about that at the on the 24th. We'll have the attorney. He'll probably repeat some of the same things I'm talking about, but he would have to comply. And most of your trainers, and this is where this occurs for the most part, is for trainers or going out for trainers that you're going to be contracting with. So those are the 2 areas where EPA is really concerned in terms of the grants office or the administration. Now there are all the other partners, and in every one of these cases, no money is exchanging hands. So really, EPA, in a sense, is out of the picture. They are in the picture in terms of looking at your total program and how comprehensive it is, and what kind of services you're providing, and what are you providing your graduates and your applicants in terms of certifications. But there's no money in hand, and there are a slew, and the people at this call could talk about the dozens of partners that they have in all shapes and forms. And I kind of divide them into a couple of, I call them in-kind partners, philanthropic partners, and advisory board and employer partners. But in-kind partners are those, and these are the people that they have grants from other agencies. They may be nonprofits. it doesn't matter if they're nonprofits or profits, whatever they are, they're willing to provide resources to your program at no cost. And you think, well, why would they do that? Well, often it's part of their mission, and they're getting credit through their own grants to provide that service. So those might include everything from financial literacy from banks. It's amazing how many banks, particularly the large ones, if you go to a bank and ask them do they have a financial literacy program for underserved populations? Oh yes, we have one. All you have to do is ask. I was on a local call. It was a local call just the other day, and this was Truist. It was BB&T. It was a local regional bank, and yes, they do provide. In fact, he brought it up. We provide financial literacy. We have a foundation where we are working with underserved populations. We not only give them money, which we'll talk about in a second, but we provide financial literacy. So there's another big area is utility companies. They'll provide all kinds of things. In California, they were a tremendous benefactors providing office space. They'll provide, and you don't know unless you ask, they'll provide all kinds of services, and even administrative services, office space, facilities, equipment that might come from an EMS program. Certainly there's the obvious ones, drug screening through the health department. That's an obvious one. Life skills that may be through Goodwill, Salvation Army. You might have a local program that does that. You may have someone who is in your target community, and this would be fairly important in what we talked about earlier in looking for local partners. You may say you're on the west side of Chicago, and there's a community center. Your target community is on the west side, on Ashland or wherever, Ashland Western, and they're, oh, by the way, there's a community center on Ashland. There was an old Allied plant, and you can go to them and say, would you have space where we could do our training? And they say, sure. You could use this facility, and what are your training needs? And you can use our facility. There we go. It's an in-kind partner, gives you tremendous leveraging. There's no money exchanging hands. It enhances your program, and you're doing the training in the community that you're serving. So it's a win-win-win for everyone. And I would say don't be shy about asking. In fact, the bigger organizations, if they get you to the right person, you'd be surprised at, they want to, for their own purposes, they would like to demonstrate that they're helping underserved communities, and they have foundations. This may also lead to philanthropic donations of resources. So if you don't ask, they don't know you're there. It'll never exist, but certainly do that. Now, if you come across a mother lode, okay, you've got an old Allied plant and they're giving you training facilities, and what you want to do is you want to develop an MOU with them, and many of you, we've talked about MOUs. You want to get them a memorandum of understanding, and you want to actually, if you're writing a grant, you want to put that in the grant application. You certainly want to keep it on file. An MOU is just a good thing to have, which sets out what their in-kind contributions are going to be. You're not, it's not forever written for stone. It may work for a while and then perhaps wouldn't work, and you may have to change it. If you get an MOU and it's part of your grant, and you write it in your grant, and for example, it's a training facility and equipment, and they say, well, we can't do this anymore. You may have to go back to your project officer and indicate, well, we had this great partner, they were in the grant, they were in the work plan, but we don't have them anymore, and we need to work around it. And as Rita said, this happens all the time. So these in-kind partnerships are just so important, and they range the case from, they're everything from case management, legal aid, childcare. Now, childcare, transportation stipends, under these new grants, EPA is willing to include that in the grant, but I would say if you could get it for free, why not? Spend your money on training. EPA would like you to spend as much money on the training and everything to do with environmental remediation and less on these other things. EPA, it's because of their mission. So to the extent that if you can get these partnerships with MOUs to provide, whether it's transportation, childcare, stipends, if they will do that, do it and take that money that you're saving and put it into other parts of your program. And as I said, many of these in-kind partners morph into philanthropic partners. As I said, the bigger the organization, the more likely they are to pony up for things. That might be free lunches, or they may buy lunches for everybody. It may be something they'll do. They'll say, well, we'll buy lunches, or we'll just supply them, or we'll talk to the local caterer and we'll make sure that you get lunches for your students every day. There might be money that they'll provide for stipends or scholarships or internships, and say, we've got this fund that we've had for a while, and we've been maybe using it for college scholarships. I think maybe it'd be better use if we provide it to your program. And could you use $20,000 a year or whatever to help your students on things that you're not getting assistance with in other areas? So don't overlook the dollar amounts. Now, this is really money that you really like to have because there's no restrictions on it other than the restrictions from the philanthropic. Many philanthropic organizations will say, do the best you can with this. We like your organization, do good. And you could spend it on whatever you want. You don't have to report to EPA. You're not going to ever be audited. It's not ever going to be an audit. And you can spend it on whatever you want for the good of your program. So this is really sweet money, and really what you want to go after. It's not the type of thing that you really necessarily want to go in and say, hey, give me money, or do you have money you can give us? You kind of want to approach them from in-kind partner and looking for in-kind partners that kind of ease into the philanthropic. Would you happen, for instance, to have a foundation that you could help us out with? We certainly could use the help because EPA only provides us dollars for very restricted purposes. So all of these partnerships I've talked about, the different kinds, they should all be on your advisory board. And I of course, I haven't talked about employee partners, but employer partners really are and should be on the advisory board. And these are the partners that Steve alluded to, are employers' partners, customers. They really are partners. You develop a relationship with your best employers, and when they get your students, your graduates, and they like you, they'll say, send us over people with these skills, or we trust you, send us over some good guys that really seem to excel. Or better yet, we'd like to come to your graduation. Better than that, we'd like to teach a class or provide you with some in-kind assistance so we could get to know these students. So these employer partnerships are just so important. You want to develop that relationship between the people hiring your students. And I think some of our best programs, they have a regular channel, and they're graduating people, and many of their graduates are going right into work with these programs, and the programs are benefiting. They're very successful. They're happy with the graduates. So you want to, of course, get those people. You want to ask them if they would like to be on the advisory board. It's very important because they could help tie the whole program together. They could work with other people on the advisory board who would be the community influencers. There'd be the training providers. They would be other government agencies. This is another good reason for recruiting employers to not only work with your program, but to get into the advisory board, because often on advisory boards, the advisors get to know each other. And what employer who's involved in environmental remediation would not want to get to know people in government who are also involved in environmental remediation. So it becomes a bridge between the person who may be looking to get additional government work and people who are looking for vendors to do government work. So you are acting as a bridge. So the hook there for employers is, well, we have an advisory board and we've got people from government, we've got people from the communities, trainers, we've got a broad group of people. Would you like to be on the advisory board? Even if you're not guaranteeing that you're going to hire our students, we would like to, if you could get a letter of support that you would like to look at your graduates. We'll look at your graduates, and depending on employment conditions, we would strongly consider them. If you could get those letters of support, it's extremely valuable in your grant. But whatever the case, see if you can get them on the advisory board, and you want to make that advisory board as strong as possible. I'm going to kind of wind this up real quick, and then we could talk a little questions. You know, these strategies for developing these partnerships, we've kind of gone over them. Start early, identify your program gaps, look for organizations that would fill your gaps, try to find them that are close to where your target community is. Try to get MOUs from them if you're going to write it in the grant or if they're in the grant, and try to get them on an advisory board. Try to get them as bonded to your program as possible. Certainly stay close to your best partners. You want to stay real close. You got to be friends with your best partners, because they're getting as much out of this as you are. So with that, I think I know, for example, Ken might want to speak. Paul or Ken, I know Paul doesn't have as good a connection as Ken. Well, you have a host of incredible partners, don't you, that you work with? I've always been impressed by what you're doing in this partnership development arena. Would one of you be able to speak to that at all?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're a little broken up, but yeah, go ahead. We'll see what we can do. He's trying to get another connection.
Well, while he's getting connected, Mike, this is my 9th cohort, and this is the first cohort that the employers showed up every week to look over my attendees. I've had 3 employers, and they're coming out of the woodwork finally to right at this moment, I think I have 27 employers fighting over 11 people.
Well, see, you're saving them $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 and a vetted graduate. So they just didn't know before.
Exactly. We finally hit that critical mass. It took 10 years, but we finally hit where the employer, I think also the 3.5% unemployment rate is also assisting as well.
Well, we've had grantees who have run into employers that say, we'll take everyone you can graduate, period. And you're fast approaching that. Interesting. Paul, are you back on?
I'm back on. Can you hear me okay now? My Wi-Fi
On and off. Go ahead.
cutting out.
Go ahead. But you do have many partners, don't you? And the thing that Paul has,
okay.
he has 3 caseworkers, don't you?
Yes, and one of our biggest partners is with the City of Indianapolis Department of Public Works. And we have 3 to 4 vans every day going into Department of Public Works in support of in the service where we help to from sanitation to keeping Indianapolis clean and graffiti abatement.
Well, you've got partners that are providing lunch. You've got students with 3 caseworkers, not just one. All of these partnerships you've established are fantastic. Now, Auberly, Jake over there, now you're a little different in that you have a lot of things in-house. Do you find that you still need partners, or are you able to handle almost everything internally?
So we have on my advisory board, my categories of partners are community referral partners, agencies and nonprofits that do similar work to us. We do have things in-house, such as a housing department. We do in-house employment prep. So we are our own workforce development and supportive service program. But also a part of the category of the advisory board is, as you said, community influencers. So our target areas. We also keep in mind what our population that we want to serve looks like. We have connections in the reentry sector and the probation sector, and also with veterans. So we make sure we have representatives of those populations on our advisory board as well that will help us recruit those individuals that are our target audience, whether that be geographically or some of the characteristics on those clients. And finally, the employer partners that we have, we want to make sure that the employer partners we have access to mirror the needs of the clients that we are serving. So while we do assist our clients in getting things like access to a vehicle and driver's license, we know that a lot of our environmental remediation are on sites that are outside of the city. So initially, we might look for partners that are close to the city on bus lines, while keeping in mind that as our clients move up, that we want to have those other partners that might be farther travel.
It's fantastic. You know, you all do such a good job in terms of servicing your clients or your students. There was a note. Steve, do you want to address it?
Yeah. There was a note from Deborah from the city of Tacoma in the chat. It says, our local labor union's president tells me that they want to be notified of each graduating class. They are specifically looking for the people who earn the 40-hour HAZWOPER certificate. They are in high demand and have been hired quickly in the past.
And I know that
Deborah.
doesn't have to do with the advisory committee folks, but it was a follow on to what Janet said.
Right.
Right. No, that's awesome.
Sometimes it takes a while because you're an unknown quantity. And, you know, there are some employers are reluctant. Oh, well, underserved or ex-offenders or returning citizens. I'm not sure, you know, how is that going to affect my program? And then once you get someone in there and they are one of your best employees, all of a sudden the attitude changes. But it may take a while and you can't get discouraged about it.
This really,
I remember.
Go ahead, Rita.
Go on. Oh, I remember when Janet was new and she'd knock on doors and the doors wouldn't even open. Now the doors open and they pull her in. It's just, you have to be around for a while and get to know people and get to know the right person, and they'll help you open the doors.
The mayor of Santa Fe is putting a $50,000 bond up in the next election to get my laboratory renovated so that I'm not carrying my 500 pounds of equipment for every class around. And Senator Heinrich is going to the DHH committee in Congress to try and get me $500,000 to add additional equipment. So does that count as partners?
You betcha. You betcha.
Her lab is only 2 years old.
That would be a pretty impressive application on the leveraging section. Well, 500.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. You know, I'm just saying, you know, that's what I've been finding here the last, 3 weeks. Finally, we've hit like the critical mass where the colleges, Highland University and Northern New Mexico College, are going to give students who attend my training 4 hours of college credit.
Wow.
Nice. Well, you've had to prove yourself.
Well, just so you know, this last cohort, the employers have been coming and setting in on the classes, and the feedback that they're giving the students was, they were like, this is better training than we've had anywhere else. So, you know, so I guess they're finally showing up to see that we are doing quality training. So
fantastic.
Although my students did kill an $873 air monitoring piece of equipment on my auger this last session.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but I'll
things
replace it.
happen. Stuff happens. What the heck?
I wanted to bring that up about the laborers. It surprised me what they said.
Right.
So I was meeting with them about another program, completely unrelated. And I just happened to mention that we're on the road to getting another EPA grant. And the president looked at me and he's like, oh, you know, I didn't even know. He told me that previously he had gone to the last instructor from the community or the technical college we partner with for training. He had gone to get a list of the graduates. And he, since Tacoma hasn't been in this for a while, he was not going to even look into that. So it was just this rant.
Wow.
So like doors that close, they may
Right.
open back up. So.
And one of my graduates of my second cohort 9 years ago, she got her first brownfields assessment grant with the city of Farmington.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
But you know, also a lot of, when you talk about organized labor, a lot of them go right into the pre-apprentice program or apprenticeship program, depending on the situation in your community. And there's also first labor agreements, or also what we call PLAs, which we'll talk about at a later date. But you've got these programs where they have to have a certain number of local people working on the job. So it is a two-way street. It's a little tough getting started, but it is a two-way street, and they're benefiting as much as you are. So it's positive for both of you.
So Deborah, I want to hear, are you going to the all employee grantee meeting in Alexandria?
I am not. I have to go to another conference the week before, and I didn't think I could get away with all that.
I want to talk to you about how you crack those unions, okay?
Sure.
Yeah. I'd like to know that too.
Okay. It involved a lunch.
Oh,
A lunch and a beer.
yes, was alcohol involved?
No, of course not.
Of course.
We had we were struggling really to get into the unions for a number of years, and only recently last year were they seeking us out. So we've made several tours of their facilities, and they've been coming out to see some of the students in our last cohort. So it took a while, but you're right, it did involve lunch and some other things, but it's been a great outcome since then.
So David, what finally got them coming to you? Do you know? Did they say?
Our city, and I apologize about the background noise, but our city and county have been putting in workforce ordinances for a lot of the bids for a lot of the construction projects going on. So it forced them to then need the residents that we're serving. So in order to get to those residents, because we have a larger community economic development push as well. So they were reaching out saying, hey, because we met with them a couple of times and they were really resistant. Some of it because of our, the different trainings that we're offered, it may not fit some of the stuff that they were doing, but now they're on board and wanting to get them because we exposed them to some of the electrical training and some of the other stuff. So they were like, hey, what can we do to get to that population? So, and we have a large training facility. So they come out, the employers as well, come out for job fairs and different things like that. So we invite them out to our space. So we give them our space for free. And in turn there, it just makes them more willing to be involved in what we do. Some of them are on our pre-apprenticeship advisory board as well for our registered apprenticeship program in the construction area. So that happened because of that relationship, and now they're more involved.
Okay.
Some people take PLAs, the project labor agreements and first hire seriously, and others treat it tokenly, and it depends on your city manager and your city of how much they really enforce that. But there are times when they're really looking for people in the community to get into the program. Well, we've kind of taken more time than out of your afternoon than we had planned on, but we hope to see you all soon again. And
So
any
Michael,
other comments? Yes.
Michael and Steve, or anyone else, I'm going to be, my graduation on Friday. We'll have a camera and I'm gonna establish a Zoom link. So if anyone wants to attend our graduation, you'll be able to do so virtually.
Wow.
And just let me know, I'll send the link to you, Mike or Steve.
Okay.
Or Rita, and you guys can share it with whoever you want. It'll be
Okay.
just at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. The certificates are being awarded by the president of the college. And it's about an hour, not even totally an hour. But if anyone's interested in attending, we will also be taping it and putting it up on our YouTube as well.
Good.
Awesome.
How do you label your YouTube if we wanted to look at that?
Santa Fe Community College, environmental technician training, and then there'll be some other number,
Okay.
graduation 2 or something like that. I
Okay.
don't know what they'll do.
Okay.
I think I have your link somewhere because I've looked at some things there before.
Right.
That would be awesome though. That would be great.
Well, Rita never came out to my graduation, so
They
I have
wouldn't let
to
me.
I have to do something for her to get her to be able to see what we're doing.
Well, what kind of refreshments are you serving?
Well, we only get, this is the only time we get to spend money, but we're having it, Whole Foods is giving us plates and drinks and stuff,
There you
iced
go.
tea and water and stuff like that.
Okay.
Although my students
Oh.
did give me a 21-year-old Irish whiskey bottle for my efforts yesterday, just so you
Sweet.
know.
Sweet.
Maybe
Wow.
I ought to bring it to the all grantee meeting. We'll all have a taste, okay?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I guess it's time to end this party. So we'll see you all soon.
Ah,
Stay safe.
bye.
Okay. Have a
Bye.
good day.